love unless there's what?
Money.
There'll be no love unless there's money. And as long as men know that, then men, or feel that way, they don't know it, but they feel that way, as long as men feel that way, men will take an attitude toward money that will be different than the female attitude toward money. It will be very similar to the female attitude toward weight and toward looks and toward youth, where women know that there's no real love unless there's a reasonable weight, reasonable looks, and reasonable amount of youth. And both all sad things, probably both genetically selected for, but this is still what's changing and what isn't, to answer Shauna's question. Does that respond to your question, Shauna?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Let's take one last question.
Sure. Say your name.
Sharon Lee.
Sharon.
Having not read your book, I can only guess at how you did this analysis. But I sort of take issue with some of the fundamental statistical correlations that you're trying to make, or conclusions that you're trying to draw from these, because I don't know if you've controlled for certain things like ambition or things like that, but it seems like a woman who fits sort of all your criteria of being the cardiac surgeon who's willing to work as many hours as the male may have some other characteristics that you're not controlling for. And so I kind of find it a little disturbing that you're trying to wipe away that entire argument that women who have the same qualifications are in fact making, or you're wiping away the argument that women who have all the same characteristics and do the same exact job don't make a percentage of what a man would work, or a man would make. So maybe you can just
Absolutely.
clarify that a little bit.
First of all, is there anybody that has any thoughts on that before I give my perspective on that? Yes, Catherine. Catherine has interviewed me recently and has read my book, so I'd be interested to hear what you say.
Thanks. Well, on a similar point, I also was surprised that when you're looking at the situation that you mentioned earlier, nursery school teachers, that the small percentage of men in that field leads to the conclusion that men are discriminated against. And yet, when you look at investment bankers and you say there's a small percentage of women, why doesn't that also lead to the conclusion that women are discriminated against in that field?
Good, very good. Okay, I'll take Sean Lee's question first, and then segue into yours, Catherine. No one can control for all 25 of these variables, so I did the best I could to sort of look at sort of the different impacts of them. But among the variables that you were very perceptive enough to sort of put your fingers on is the question about goals and ambitions of the person, men and women to begin with. And that is one of the 25 differences that contributes to higher or lower pay than women. Women are much more likely, both who own their own businesses and also women at every age group, when Harris and Gallup polls ask them questions, and in every industrialized country, which is where we have good polls from, all have different goals than men do in the workplace. A much higher percentage of women want fulfillment, and they want flexibility. Usually a question that's not asked, but only when it's asked does it occur, is safety. They don't also want to take risks a great deal in their work. And I just reaffirmed all this with an American Management Association survey, which I asked all these questions about the 25 ways in that survey. And all these things turned out to be true among managers as of a few weeks ago who were asked these questions. So that predominantly women want fulfillment, they want flexibility for family purposes, they want safety, they want to work, but they don't usually want to work on average. They don't want to work more than 35 to 40 hours a week. Pay is important to them, but it's not the primary importance. Not of primary importance. Even women who own their own businesses, only 27% say pay is a primary reason that they own their own business, whereas men, it's over 40% saying the same thing. So that's sort of like the larger picture of the differences in the goals area. On your question, Catherine, in terms of why do I conclude that men are nursery school teachers at such a small percentage, and that implies discrimination, and women are investment bankers at a small percentage, and that does not imply discrimination. The only way you can evaluate discrimination is to look carefully at percentages of applicants, what happens to those applicants when they apply, and also are there people that fear going into a field because they've gotten communication ahead of time that they are going to be discriminated against. And when very few men apply to be nursery school teachers because men sort of sense that they're not going to be accepted in that area. But the closest thing you can come to it in large numbers is men who do have elementary education backgrounds and apply to be elementary education teachers in grades 1st through 3rd. And there we have a lot of men saying that they apply for those positions, but they are not accepted. Interestingly enough, that I had to gather only anecdotal evidence on that. There's not a single study done by any education institution that I could come up with that even asked schools what is the percentage of male versus female applications. It's just that all over the country, when I talk about these issues, men call me and say, I got an elementary education degree. One of them quit from being a very top-level government employee because everybody said that he was a great teacher. He had raised his own children, so he quit job, gave up pension, risked his wife's disapproval, became a teacher, got an elementary school education, called me on the radio and said, every single man that graduated with me could not get a job. I couldn't get a job. Everybody thinks I'm gifted as a teacher, but every single woman in my class got a job. So it's only data like that that I ask the society to look more carefully at that issue. Does that answer your question, Catherine? Anything that I haven't answered about it? Okay, and check with me at lunch. If it's been wonderful talking with you, and feel free to sort of continue this dialogue as we join each other for lunch. Thanks for your thoughtful questions.
Thank you very much, Warren. We do have copies of Why Men Earn More outside, and we invite you to get one, and I'm sure Warren would be glad to sign them, and we'll be upstairs for lunch. And I remind you that we will have this forum available on our website, www.cato.org, if you want to go back and check any of the numbers and percentages or anything. Thank you.